Hello, welcome to Uncensored Mothers podcast, where we speaking the taboo truth of motherhood. I'm Marie-Laure, and I'm with my co-host Aireen. Today, we wanted to introduce ourselves on why we are doing what we are doing and why we're speaking up. What does taboo's truth means to us and the importance of this. Aireen and I met about 6 years ago in 2020 after we lost our daughters, my daughter Juliet and her daughter Aireen Joy. And we started a friendship after meeting in an online support group for lost moms through Instagram, of all places.
All places.
The power of the internet, right? And social media.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we decided to go ahead and go on this journey together as moms and to speak uncensored sometimes about what it's like to be a mom. We are both, as you call, lost moms. And so some other moms can identify with that. And we also have what we call our rainbow babies or babies after our loss as well. And so we're going to be speaking truths about both those things and everything in between, about pregnancy conditions. We might get a little bit medical here. So bear with us as we explore this world of motherhood within the taboo truths of it. So, Marie, do you want to share about your baby, about Juliet?
Yeah. And the one thing I'll add is like both Aaron and I had medical complication with pregnancy.
Good point.
So we didn't only have losses, and we had multiple losses as well. We didn't only lose our daughters, but we also almost lost our lives, both of us. Um, and I think it's like sometimes pregnancy feels like rainbows and butterflies and everything is fine. And the most beautiful time of your life. And it wasn't the case for us. Uh, and we know we're not alone. And I had a complication called preeclampsia early onset. I was 24 weeks and 2 days when I was diagnosed, and it was with severe features. So a more severe form of preeclampsia. And after delivery, I also had another complication called peripartum cardiomyopathy, which is heart failure brought on by pregnancy. So as I mentioned, at 24 weeks of pregnancy with my daughter, Juliet. We first pregnancy. This is July 2020. We're very excited. 24 weeks. That's viability. So we thought we were good to go. We would have a baby in early November. And I had started experiencing around 22 weeks of pregnancy, some symptoms, but I had no idea I was throwing up. I had a lot of swelling. I had shortness of breath. I was not urinating as much anymore. And all of this, I reported to a doctor and it kind of was told like, I had rapid gain weight. And so like, why don't you exercise a little bit every day? And a week later, I was diagnosed with preeclampsia. My daughter had severe intrauterine growth restriction, IUGR. So she measured 3 weeks behind. Expected birth weight was 14 ounces or less than 400 grams. And we were told that, she would probably not survive birth. We decided that we would continue the pregnancy at the hospital in the hope that maybe we can do something about it, because we were going to do comfort care for her, which allowed us to stay a week pregnant. And my health got worse, her health got worse, we had to give birth a week later. So I was 25 weeks and she died during labor. And as I said, a week later, I went back to the hospital with other symptoms of shortness of breath, coughing, very tired, unable to eat. And I happened to have sepsis, pneumonia, and heart failure. So it's been another week or so in the hospital, figuring out what was going on, finding treatment, and gaining some strength back. But all of this will be explained in like further episodes in way, way, way more detail. But this is why this experience that first made me create a social media account on Instagram. She's not a taboo, because when I left the hospital with my daughter, who with my stillborn daughter with preeclampsia, I looked on social media. I wanted to find other people who had the same experience as me. I wanted to feel like I wasn't alone. Nobody in my family had lost a baby at 24 weeks. Nobody in my family had preeclampsia. And I wanted to feel less alone.
Yeah.
And I found a lot of lost moms, and I found a lot of mom accounts. But I never found anyone that had preeclampsia and lost a baby. I found people who had preeclampsia later in pregnancy. I found people who lost babies to many, many different conditions, but never no and nobody had heart failure. So I felt like even though I could connect and feel less alone, a voice was missing. And so I started to speak up about what happened to me. And I met a lot of moms who also had similar experiences, and connect. And that was very healing and helpful. I've started advocating for better care, better awareness for preeclampsia as well. And so this is why Irene and I were like, let's do more, because we would talk and we would talk about everything about our motherhood that was, the good, the bad, and the all in between. And from people trying to be supportive that completely missed the mark to people who didn't even try to be supportive, to what it's like to parent your rainbow baby or a child after loss. And so because we talked about all this, like let's start this, let's do this, let's continue the journey of awareness, of adding the voice of mothers, of patients to the discourse around maternal mental health, which is a hot topic right now. Um, and we definitely need the voices of healthcare providers, but also the voices of patients is always very important. We lived it. We're the one who received the care, the ones who have who experienced the losses, the one who experienced the medical complications. So we wanted to add this voice to the discourse. And
Marie, I wanted to ask you, with your social media outreach, have you had a lot of moms since you started your page reach out to you that have had similar experiences as your voice, or, what has been the outcome of that?
yeah, yeah, so many moms have reached out to me to tell me like they also lost a baby to preeclampsia around the same weeks.
Oh,
So,
wow.
everybody has slightly different stories, and that's why it's so important, because all of our is experience going to be unique, right? Even though lots of similarities, there's going to be some uniqueness. A lot of moms who also were completely dismissed by medical providers. One that will always stand out to me, because ridiculous that he was. This was a mom from France who reached out to me, and she told me that she took a urine. Like, one way to diagnose preeclampsia is protein in your urine.
Oh,
That's a
like,
big sign if you have high protein in your urine. And so urine test is part of the diagnosis. And the doctor, so she did a urine test. She had high protein in her urine. The doctor basically told her that she didn't know how to do a urine test. Like, that was the answer to, you have a lot of protein in your urine. Instead of being like, oh, this is like worrisome, let's run some tests and figure out if something else is going on. She was patronized by a male doctor that she didn't know how to take a urine test.
ooh, yeah, that's right. And this is like exactly why we're doing this podcast, because there's a lot of things, and it's not, gender specific with providers or anything either. It's just, women are not being heard when they're pregnant. Women of color are not being heard when they're pregnant, you know, and just women around the world are not getting the care that they need. Gosh, Marie, that's terrible. I've had similar experiences too since then. So moms have reached out and they were like, "That's my story when I lost my baby, like with mine too." And I'm like, "That sucks. That's not
You
okay."
wanna share what? Because you also had complication, but we had different
Yes.
complication.
Yeah. Very, very different, but similar, I'm finding too, because my condition I had can also result in preeclampsia. The progressive, I know we've talked about that. I've been screened for preeclampsia, never had it, thankfully. But I did have a liver condition called intrahepatic cholestasis of pregnancy. So for me and Marie, our stories are similar but very different. For me, my daughter passed away at 36 weeks utero. Her name is Laylee Joy. Laylee was like a perfect pregnancy. All my providers, quote unquote, deem me perfect pregnancy, meaning like I didn't really have any complications. Like I was working out religiously. I was a yoga instructor at the time. Like I taught yoga so much. I had a business at the time where I was teaching children's yoga. So I was very active, very pregnant, very active. Like I would go on walks and I would eat super healthy. And then I was diagnosed with gestational diabetes at the time where you do that fun drink test. I hate that thing. Diagnosed with gestational diabetes. And then other than that, it was fine. I wasn't on insulin. I wasn't on any medications. It was perfect pregnancy. And then of course, Marie and I, we have similar stories in the fact that our losses happened during COVID. So that's also fine. So throw in a little sprinkle of a pandemic on top of our stories and then not getting the medical care on top of it because of a lot of these restrictions or because there wasn't the care provided or available. So I got to, I think it was like 33, 34 weeks pregnant. And then the shutdown started to happen. And then it was just hell from there. My 35-week appointment was canceled because of it. And being that far along and about to be 9 months, I mean, it was rough. So didn't get my appointments. I started itching on my hands and feet, which is the main telltale sign of ICP. It is a liver condition where your bile acids will backflow into your bloodstream as a mom. When the bile acids backflow into the bloodstream, your bile acids can raise, and then that can also affect the baby. And what happened, unfortunately, in my case, in my ICP, the itching started on a Monday or Tuesday. It was really early in the week. And then by the time it was Friday, I was starting to have decreased movements off and on throughout, like, I think it was Thursday, Friday. By Saturday, she passed away. I went into labor Saturday morning. I lost my mucus plug and then I ended up going to the hospital. Unfortunately for me, my symptoms were completely dismissed. I called in earlier in that week and I was like, hey, to my nurse that I had seen weeks on at my OB office. I absolutely loved her. Absolutely loved her. And I was like, hey, I'm itching. And she goes, oh, it's probably a rash. It's probably something called PUPS. There's a rash condition called PUPS, probably detergent, lotion, whatever it was. And I was just dismissed. And I called again. I'm still itching. I'm concerned about my baby's movements. Oh, you're fine. You're fine. I'm more worried about you coming into the hospital and getting COVID than anything, said this nurse. And again, absolutely loved her until then, until my symptoms were dismissed. And then I was like, well, I guess it's my first pregnancy, right, Marie? I'm like, oh, I'm trusting. I'm okay. Everything's fine. And then I lost my mucus plug. I went into labor. And the hardest part of my story was I was alone during it when I had to be told there's no heartbeat. And that's something for me is my why, because I'm like, no parent should ever have to be told there's no heartbeat. That is one of those words you should never have to hear. And it breaks my heart because there's so many moms that go through this. There's so many dads that go through it and they hear these words and it's like, you could be pregnant at 8 weeks and lose that baby. You can be pregnant at 36, 40 weeks and lose that baby. And it's still the same heartbreak. And so that's my why. That's why I do this. I'm also a advocate for ICP care. That is a nonprofit that I am a part of as an ambassador. I served on their board for a time being. And so now I was like, what can we do, Marie, that's bigger and more impactful and hits the stories? And this is why we started this podcast, because moms are not getting advocated for and we were not advocated for. And so, we're uncensored, we're unapologetic, and what the hell, why not? Why don't we go ahead and just tell our stories raw and real? Because then maybe we can make a change in the maternal fetal health field and just medical care overall, because no one should be dismissed, especially when it's life-saving care. Like Marie had heart failure. I went into liver failure, and it shouldn't get to that point. That's, I think, is the whole point of this podcast. It should not get to this point. Medical providers should be listening to this because we are raw and real and we are here for a reason, and moms should be listened to. So that's why I'm here. I know that's why Marie's here. I hope that anyone listening to this, if you feel alone, reach out to us, because I know we love to help support. I know so many moms have had ICP and they're like messaging me like, girl, it's my story. That was my baby too. And I'm like, this is not okay. But we're going to change it. So we're changing it. And every week or so, depending on how we can do this podcast, because Marie-Laure also
Yeah.
just had her third baby, so she's in the trenches of motherhood, and we're gonna do some podcast episodes that are really fun coming up, so we're really excited about that. What would be your biggest takeaway that you hope our audience gets from this?
We want I think we my hope is that people feel the mothers who walked similar path feel heard. We wanna have interviews. We wanna meet with people. We wanna, like, this is not just you and me gonna be rambling for every episode, but we wanna have guests come and share their stories, all the stories, as many mothers that have lost babies and fathers as well, parents. There's a
Grandparents,
story.
aunts, uncles, like, all
Yeah.
of like, a lost baby is so impacted. Every
Yeah.
baby dies because of these complications, or even, like, a cord accident, or just any accident, or baby loss, infant loss, it's so
Yeah.
important. SIDS, we wanna hear your story. Reach out to us on the Uncensored Mothers podcast, send us a DM, and let's connect. Yeah.
We also wanna have, hear from advocates in the fields, people from different organizations that work to make this, all of this, whether complications, loss, TFMR, termination for medical reasons, all of this, we want to talk about it because it's all part of that taboo, all part of that uncensored discussion. And we also want to hear about talk with professional, medical professional. As stories happen to, we have had dismissed symptoms. We were sent home where we should not have been sent home. But with this said, I've had amazing medical care. I've had doctors that I've trusted literally with my life, and I still do today. Just delivered my third baby and would not have done it without my OBGYN there. And so glad that she was part of all of it, all three pregnancies. So this is not against medical providers. It's just adding your voice, and we definitely want to talk with them. And because it's, together we make changes, right? So we'd love guests, and yeah, we want people to feel heard, people to feel like the stories can be told, and we want to share without taboo, without censoring ourselves about what our motherhood looks like, which is not the portrayed motherhood that we see everywhere else. There is a lot of taboo around what we've experienced that we want to kind of like break down. That's
And
our why.
our loss. Yeah, absolutely. And I also don't wanna, like, undermine anyone who's gone through, like, a miscarriage, like, yes, stillbirth and, like, TFMR and all these really heavy miscarriage. Early miscarriage is early loss. It's really heavy too because that baby is desired and wanted, and I know Marie-Laure is gonna be talking about that piece a lot with Juliet. And then, all the way going to, stillbirth, like, late in term, and that's something that I definitely can identify with, because you think you're out of the woodwork and then you're not. So, until you have healthy mom, healthy baby, that's what my mantra always is for pregnant women, healthy mom, healthy baby, and that's what we want. We're also going to be talking positively about, the medical practice, about research. I know Laura does a lot of research-based work as well, so she's going to bring a lot of that to her knowledge of research is amazing. And then the connections that we have with preeclampsia foundations and ICP care, as well as other foundations like Count the Kicks. I love Count the Kicks. I've worked with you guys before. I absolutely love you ladies. So thank you for all that you do. That is one thing that I do want to say is if you are pregnant and you don't have the Count the Kicks app, please go ahead and download it. It should be free still. I know Marie and Laura and I have used that religiously.
Downloaded it this year with my third pregnancy. It is still free.
But it's so free. Okay, sweet. Yeah, but Count the Kicks, I worked with that organization before. They're amazing. I know Marie-Laure and I have worked with great foundations, so we're going to be bringing them on too. If you are an organization and you want to be on this podcast, please message us. We would love to have you. We would love to chat with you guys. Any community work, we would absolutely love to continue to speak the taboo truths of motherhood together. And I think that's all for our Uncensored Mothers intro today. Marie, you want to send us off with anything that you want to remind our lost mamas of?
Yeah, I mean, I think the reminders we'll hope to continue providing is you're not alone. It's not your fault, and we are here for you. So it feels like a lonely path sometimes where you're really with the millions of us walking alongside each other.
Yeah. Yeah. and it does get slightly better. We're still slightly griefy moms, though you're in good company. If you're a griefy mom, come join us. But yeah, we're in the trenches with you, so
Yeah.
you're not alone.
We still cry and we still ask why.
And I'm gonna cry at every like episode, so it's fine. But yeah, thank you guys for watching this intro. We hope that you join us for every episode. Please go ahead and follow and subscribe to our YouTube as well for Uncensored Mothers podcast. And we will see you next time.
And Instagram as well.
And the Instagram, yes, the Instagram, everything. Subscribe, like, follow. And thank you guys for supporting us and other moms and their babies. Bye bye.